On this episode of Travels with Bill, we're just outside of Swan River, Manitoba, checking out a garden. It's part of Garden Walk 2022. Now you'll find a lot of episodes on the channel of gardens from the summer. Some of them are small, some medium-sized, but this is a large garden. Certainly when you have a lot of space, you can certainly play with it a little more. See the rocks along the driveway here? Isn't that cool? Even something so simple starts out and makes it just so special. We're going to come around the walkway here and walk through the garden. We'll end up around the house, into the backyard too. There's lots to see there. And then we'll end up right back where we started, at that kind of opening sequence where we see those first welcoming flowers. A good variety of different flowers here in the garden. I certainly see some perennials there, a few annuals mixed in here and there as well. That's usually a pretty good way to do it, right? Put annuals along the edge, maybe perennials a little further back. Some of them doing very well. This is a popular garden. You can see lots of people walking along here. The way the garden walk works, they buy those little yellow passes that they're carrying, then they get to go and look through the backyards of a bunch of people. Well, as you can imagine, that's a lot of fun if you're gardening. It gives you great ideas for what you could do in your own house. You'll see there's actually another house just across the way. In fact, there's two locations back to back on the garden walk tour. This yard and the yard next door. I wonder if they're competing a little bit to see who has the best garden. Well, I suppose that's possible. On the day we're filming, it's a little overcast, so certainly we're not seeing bright sunshine, no bright shadows, but that almost adds something to it, doesn't it? Besides the flowers, check out the accessories. These mushrooms are incredibly cool. They use those little glass beads to make them. It looks like it's some sort of, well, I don't know if that's really wood. It must be actual wood. And then those are glued on top, making, I'm sure it's a mushroom, but maybe it's a whale too. Kind of hard to tell, I suppose. There's several of them throughout the garden. You'll see a lot of them as we keep going here, and they're very cool decorations. That one is for sure a block of wood, and then it's got its little topper on it in blue and clear, which looks pretty white. The house itself is in beautiful shape too, a nice little deck there, and some people sitting around enjoying the garden a little bit. Go back down the walkway here just so you can see a little better some of the parts of it we missed, because we kind of only looked at the one side. Now the ground isn't totally covered here yet. That'll grow in a little bit more as time goes on. It's a little bit of a late year in 2022, which means not everything has grown quite as quickly as it could, and certainly with the larger garden, it would have been colder out here as compared to maybe some of the gardens we look at in the downtown, where it was a lot warmer with all the cement and all the houses around. Here, spring was late, which means the garden isn't quite huge, but another week or two, it'll certainly be catching up. So how do you do it in your garden? Do you grow the plants yourself in your own little greenhouse, maybe start them inside, or do you go to a garden center? Well, I don't know if you know or not, but years ago, before I was doing the Travels with Bill thing and everything I do now, my family used to own a greenhouse. It was a really big greenhouse. In fact, it was the biggest one in the valley. So I've always been kind of partial to plants. And of course, we never had time for a big garden because we were so busy growing all the plants for everybody else. Thousands of dozens of plants, and we used to take those all over the place too. We sold them in Swan River, but also Kamsack, Roblin, Russell, you name it, we had plants everywhere, and people just loved them. Well, things have changed a bit for me. Now I just visit garden centers instead of working at one. It's always nice to see what other people do with the plants. I see in the back there a little bit of a greenhouse going on, though I think that's just to keep something warm in the garden. I wonder if they're not growing some squash out there and want to make sure it stays nice and toasty. Lots of lawn here when you've got a big yard, but lots of places to tuck little flower gardens in as well. Here's another one with some rocks to kind of give it a bit of a border. And then, oh, there, some vegetables. I'm certainly seeing some corn there, along with a bunch of other things. Well, vegetables are cool, but we'll leave those alone for a moment and head back over toward the house to see what's going on in the flower garden part. I see they're capturing the rainwater off the eaves to help water the flowers with a tank there that's kind of disguised a little bit, but that works well, saving the water so you don't have to buy it from the town or get it from the well. I see there's a well here and a septic tank, so clearly not on town water, which means they don't have to worry about the chlorine that maybe other people have to worry about more. Did you catch all those vehicles there in the background? Very popular spot for people to come check out the gardens. And I don't know how many people actually went on the garden walk, but I'm thinking it's well more than 100, because certainly everywhere we went as we were filming today, we saw people. Check out the backyard here. It just turns into a field and some trees. We're in a beautiful rural area, but we're actually not far from town. A mile or so gets us back to the heart of the downtown area, so it's kind of rural living at its best. planter out here in the back with some little sunflowers in it. Sunflowers are always such a cool thing to put in the garden because they grow nice and tall, they're so bright and wonderful, and they're not that hard to look after either. They kind of auto-grow themselves. More flower garden out here with some rocks in the middle to walk on through, and then we get into some of the more perennials as we go further back. Marigolds I see there along the edge, so well, look, there's little stepping stones. Well, I think we need to go for a walk on that path. They seem to be butterfly stepping stones with some mulch, and then of course a water feature. And you know, almost all of these gardens on the walk do have a water feature someplace, but I always like the sound of it. This is another one that's kind of homemade, so they put the rocks there, and obviously they have the fountain pump, but it's not just something they've bought from the store and plunked in. They've gone to some work here. Neat little bench out in the back with some faux bird houses. Not a lot of places for the birds to go there. Oh, and look at the pig. He's just lounging around, having himself a beautiful afternoon. Well, it is a beautiful afternoon to look at gardens. See the truck going by? That's how close we are to the highway. And then from the highway, of course, back into Swan River. Sometimes people get all tied up on the idea that everything has to match, but you see here everything doesn't match. Different kinds of paving stones, different treatment for them, and it all goes together so well. Here's a close-up at how they've been making those little things. See, it's those glass beads you can buy in the dollar stores, then just epoxied onto the top of the wood. Pretty cool, eh? And like another pig there too. There's a lot of pigs in the garden if you know just where to look. You might even want to rewind the episode and see if we missed any pigs, because it's a bit of a theme that keeps going on. A little bit of a barbecue fire pit there as well, where you could roast some hot dogs, maybe some marshmallows, and sit at the picnic table while you enjoy an evening in the garden. We're coming back around the house here, a little walkway, as we kind of make our way in a circle. Garden shed, of course, for keeping all the tools in, and look at that, another tub full of water, because they're certainly saving lots of the rain here. A lot of people think the rainwater does better. I don't know if it does or not, but hey, if that works for you. Beautiful trees. See how the vehicles are parking right under them? This would be the spot where you could have big parties and lots of people come over, because you could easily fit 20 or 30 vehicles here, and then have a garden party, why not? If you're enjoying touring the gardens, I do encourage you look in your own community, because lots of places having these garden walks now, where it's like an open day, you can just go see everything there is in your community, and they all look so beautiful. You'll see many more episodes on the channel. Speaking of, you should subscribe to the Travels with Bill channel, then you'll see every time we release a new episode, whether it's gardening or something else. I promise it's always interesting. Farewell for now from just outside of Swan River on the garden walk, enjoying this massive yard and beautiful garden. We'll see you next time.